Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rachah Kudash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Exodus, the 14th chapter. And the Lord Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, that they turn and encamp before Pahiharoth, between Migdal and the sea, and over against Baal Zephon. Before it shall ye encamp by the sea. And so the place where the Lord asked Israel to encamp would basically be bordered by the sea, which popularly known as the Red Sea. But specifically that region in which they would have crossed would be the Gulf of Suez. But the Lord basically commanded them to basically set up camp over there. For Pharaoh will say of the children of Israel, they are entangled in the land, and the wilderness has shut them in. So the Lord tells Moses that he's going to basically put the thought into Pharaoh's mind, right? He's going to be under the impression that the children of Israel, are either lost in the wilderness or they've been trapped, but by being unfamiliar with the land and the terrain. And I will harden Pharaoh's heart that he shall follow after them. And I will be honored upon Pharaoh and upon all his host, that the Egyptians may know that I am the Lord Yahweh. And what he means by being honored upon him means that the Lord is going to use Pharaoh to spread forth his honor by way of bringing judgment upon Pharaoh and his armies. And in doing so, word would spread. And in the spreading of that word, the honor of the Lord, or the fear or the reverence of Yahweh, the God of the Hebrews, would be spread throughout the earth. And they did so. So they encamped where the Lord told them to encamp. And it was told the king of Egypt that the people fled. And the heart of Pharaoh and his servants was turned against the people, as they said, and they said, why have we done this? So the Lord, as he said he would do, turn their hearts from being so eager to drive out the Hebrews to now coming to a moment of realization and saying, wait, hold on. We just basically, led away all of our slaves. Who's gonna work for us now? How are we gonna, all the profit and stuff we were making? No. We can't let them go. And on top of that, they said they were gonna go do a sacrifice, and now they're fleeing. So he says here, right? Why have we done this? That we have let Israel go from serving us. So what possessed us to let our slaves go? And he made ready his chariot and took his people with him, that is his army. And he took 600 chosen chariots. So he selected 600 chosen chariots to be with him, along with all the chariots of Egypt, and captains over every one of them. And the Lord Yahweh hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and he pursued after the children of Israel. And when it says that he hardened his heart, the heart is his mind. So the Lord put a thought in his mind that he was hell-bent on, right? He was dead set on this, and nothing will change his mind. And so by doing this, he would get Pharaoh to fall into his snare by pursuing the children of Israel. And the children of Israel went out with an high hand. And an high hand is like, when you raise your fist right in the air, and it signifies, either like victory or like a resistance. That was pretty much the case when the children of Israel left the land, in the situation that they were able to leave, going from slaves to spoiling the Egyptians and basically being thrust out of Egypt because of the hand of their God. But the Egyptians pursued after them all the horses and chariots of Pharaoh and his horsemen and his army, and overtook them by encamping by the sea. So by overtaking, meaning they started to close in on them where Israel was, beside Pahiharoth, before Baal Zephon. And when Pharaoh drew near, the children of Israel lifted up their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians marched after them. So they could hear the sound, the rumbling of the ground, the horses' hooves hitting the ground, the chariot wheels. And eventually, when they turned around and saw, they're like, oh, shoot, that's a huge army that is making their way towards us here. And so they became very, very scared, very afraid. And the children of Israel cried out unto the Lord Yahweh. And they said unto Moses, because there was no graves in Egypt, or because there were no graves in Egypt, hast thou taken us away to die in the wilderness? So they started to speak in unbelief against Moses, saying, did you was it because there weren't enough graves in Egypt that you brought us out here instead to die? Wherefore hast thou dealt thus with us, to carry us forth out of Egypt? So why did we even listen to you to convince us to do this? Why? Now look at the situation we're in. Is not this the word that we did tell thee in Egypt, saying, let us alone, that we may serve the Egyptians? So then we tell you in Egypt, that no, it's fine. We good. We good. You're only gonna cause us trouble. Leave us alone. We're gonna serve the Egyptians. We've been doing it for years. It's all right. For it had been better for us to serve the Egyptians than that we should die in the wilderness. And Moses said unto the people, fear ye not, stand still and see the salvation of the Lord Yahweh, which he will shew to you today. So calm down, calm down. The Lord is still working. He didn't bring us out here for no reason, and he definitely didn't bring us out here to slay us. For the Egyptians whom ye have seen today, ye shall see them again no more forever. And the Lord Yahweh shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. So just calm down and relax, and let the Lord work, because he's about to perform a heavy miracle to where those Egyptians will never be a problem for you like this again. You ain't going to see them anymore. And the Lord said unto Moses, wherefore criest thou unto me? Speak unto the children of Israel, that they go forward. Now, mind you, at this point, forward means into the sea. But lift thou up thy rod, and stretch out thine hand over the sea, and divide it. And the children of Israel shall go on dry ground through the midst of the sea. So the Lord tells Moses, no, don't look at me. You got to tell them that they got to go. They're about to go forward, straight ahead. That's like you about to drive. You're driving, and you see a sign that says dead end, and it's really about to lead you off a cliff. And you people in the car looking at you like, yo, what you doing? And the Lord's like, look, keep driving. Matter of fact, step on the gas. You going straight. So he tells Moses, right? So basically, the rod that he had, with which he was performing those miracles, to basically point it right over the sea and divide it. And behold, I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians, and they shall follow them. And I will get me honor upon Pharaoh, and upon all his hosts, i.e. his armies, upon his chariots, and upon his horsemen. So usually, like, if you were to see something like that, and that's why the Lord mentioned he would harden their hearts. If you were pursuing a nation of people after knowing and seeing what their God has already done to you, which wasn't enough apparently, and you now see a man part through the spirit of power of the Lord, part this huge body of water in half. You witness that happen. At that point, a normal person says, turn that chariot around and take us back to Egypt. This is the last we're going to pursue on these people. But the Lord had to harden their heart to still pursue or chase after them down into that into the ocean, which would now be dry ground. And by doing so, the Lord would get his honor, because that's how he would destroy Pharaoh and his army. So as it says, upon all his hosts, upon his chariots, and upon his horsemen. And the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord Yahweh, when I have gotten me honor upon Pharaoh, upon his chariots, and upon his horsemen. Because word would certainly get back. And at that point, Pharaoh's firstborn is dead. He's now dead. The majority of his armies are gone. And wait till you hear how it happened. And the angel of the Lord Yahweh, which went before the camp of Israel, removed and went behind them. So the angel that was in the chariot, which was Yahushai, right, that was leading them, that chariot basically flew backward behind them. So it would be in the midst between them and the Egyptians. It says, and the pillar of cloud went from before their face and stood behind them. And it came to pass between the camp, and it came between the camp of the Egyptians and the camp of Israel. So where the Egyptians had encamped and where the Israelites had encamped, in the middle was where this chariot was. And it was a cloud and darkness to them, but it gave light by night to these. So on the one hand, it was dark because, it's nighttime. But on the other hand, it was shining because, the chariots have lights, right? So it shined the lights, all right, by whatever means it used on the side that was facing the Israelites. Like half, you can imagine the half side of the chariot was light, and then the other part was just straight darkness. And this way, the Egyptians, wouldn't be able to close in, right? That was one of the first means of keeping them at bay, so that the one came not near the other all the night. And so this was happening in the nighttime. And Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the Lord Yahweh caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all that night, and made the sea dry land, and the waters were divided. So if you look at like the thumbnail of the book of Exodus, as we're going through it, you'll see like just a basic visual, right? Where you have the water being parted in half, and it's raised up on one side like a wall and another side like a wall, and the middle of it is dry, right? Which is very, very interesting work. So as it says here, and the children of Israel went into the midst of the sea upon the dry ground. Now usually when you have certain like bodies of water, it gets deeper, right? The further you go into the midst of it, it gets deeper and deeper, right? So when it dried up, there was still footing where you could walk down into it and then walk on that dry ground and then climb back out. Okay. And so here it says they went down into the mist basically. And now imagine this, right? It's dark, but you still got light from the chariot, but you can tell that it's nighttime, and you're literally walking on dry ground. And on your left is a huge, God knows how tall, this a huge wall of water. And on the right is a huge wall of water. And you're just like walking through in the midst of it. Imagine what a sight that would be. It says here, and the children of Israel went into the midst of the sea upon the dry ground, and the waters were a wall unto them on the right hand and on the left. And the Egyptians pursued and went in after them to the midst of the sea. So the Egyptians are, oh shit, let's go. Even all Pharaoh's horses, his chariots, and his horsemen. And it came to pass that in the morning watch, so just like from the AMs, right, early AMs, maybe 3 a.m., 4 a.m., before dawn, right? It says here, the Lord looked onto the host of the Egyptians through the pillar of fire and of the cloud, i.e. the chariot, and troubled the host of the Egyptians. So, and this goes to show you that this wasn't a literal cloud or pillar of fire, as the Lord, when it says the Lord here, is referring to the angel Yahushai that was in the chariot, that looked from the chariot and peeped them, the Egyptians, as they were closing in. And it says, and troubled the host of the Egyptians. And how did it do that? Or how did the chariot do that? Verse 25, and took off their chariot wheels. So, it was likely maybe shooting some little laser beams, and actually taking off their chariot wheels. And if the chariot itself, if you see a chariot, see Egyptian chariots. You see that? These are the wheels, right? These are the wheels. So when you have your horses that are dragging, right, and moving the wheels along, if the wheels come off, now you're basically dragging the standing or seating area on the bare ground, and that's not going to work. Okay, the wheels are what allow it to really move as it should. So by the chariot taking those wheels off, it says that they drave them heavily, because now the wheels were off and you're just dragging that little chair looking thing. And that would be much more difficult to even try to maneuver the horses with that. So that the Egyptians said, let us flee from the face of Israel, for the Lord Yahweh fighteth for them against the Egyptians. So as they witnessed that, pew, pew, they were like, yeah, no, okay, nope, 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 nope. So at this point, they're like, yeah, we got to go. We cannot fight against this power. So at this point where they're now deciding, okay, it's time to go, pack your bags, we out of here. The Lord said, too late. And the Lord Yahweh said unto Moses, stretch out thine hand over the sea, that the waters may come again upon the Egyptians, upon their chariots, and upon their horsemen. And this was basically after all Israel had made it across. And Moses stretched forth his hand over the sea, and the sea returned to his strength when the morning appeared. So, not like he stretched his hand and then he had to wait till morning before it took effect. But as the morning appeared, right, as you hit dawn and the sunrise and everything, he stretched out his hand upon the sea and the waters closed again. Now imagine that, right? Those giant walls on your left and on your right. The Egyptians are like, okay, we got to turn around now. And now you see the wall start to collapse like a huge wave just about to drop on your ass. And it casts a shadow too, because now the sun is out. So now you down there and it's dark and this huge wall of water is you're at the bottom of this joint. Imagine just the pressure alone of it slamming down on you. You're making out of there. It says here, and the Egyptians fled against it, and the Lord overthrew the Egyptians in the midst of the sea. So they turn around, they try to flee. Some probably hopped out the chariot. They try to get on the horse, and no, their horses, their chariots, all of it got crushed and drowned in the midst of that sea. And the waters returned and covered the chariots and the horsemen and all the host of Pharaoh that came into the sea after them. There remained not so much as one of them. But the children of Israel walked upon dry land in the midst of the sea, and the waters were a wall unto them on the right hand and on their left. So concerning the children of Israel, they were able to walk on the dry land. Nothing happened to them. But the Egyptians that followed after them found out the hard way. Thus the Lord Yahweh saved Israel that day out of the hand of the Egyptians. And Israel saw the Egyptians dead upon the seashore. Because, eventually your body rises to the top. And Israel saw that great work which the Lord Yahweh did upon the Egyptians. And the people feared the Lord. I mean, seeing something like this, of course they were going to be afraid and fear the Lord. And believed the Lord Yahweh and his servant Moses. And then you ask yourself, so how then, if you've seen this and you believe the Lord, do you turn around and murmur against the Lord and build a idol and so on and so forth? And that brings us to the end of the book of Exodus, the 14th chapter. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachak Wadash, Until next time, Shalom.